Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hello everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I am so excited to be joined by a very special guest and returning guest to the show. Please welcome Matteson Gregory. Hey Matteson.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm just so happy to be back. I love being on your podcast so much. So I'm really excited to be back.
It's lovely having you back. I think this is your third episode, so that's very exciting. And today we are going to be chatting about expectations in the music industry. But before we get into that, what have you been up to these past few months?
So besides writing new music and working on releasing my latest song, I'll Be Okay, I've been doing a lot of gigs. Pretty much my summer, almost every weekend, I had at least one or two gigs, which was great. I loved it. I got to meet so many amazing people, and it's great being able to do what you love for sure. And in the midst of all of that, I have been working on planning my wedding, so which has been really exciting. And that's, I think, almost about 50 days away now, which is crazy. It is November 5th. So
So excited for
coming
you,
up.
girl.
I am I'm so excited. So I will definitely be sharing pictures and stuff. So you can be on the lookout for that.
So excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's dive into our conversation for today about music industry expectations. So, can you please read a great quote by Francesca Ramsey?
Gladly. So Francesca says, social media, unfortunately, just makes it a lot easier to be jealous. It sets up false expectations of reality, so it's really easy to look at someone else's life online and assume that they have everything going great for them and that their life is perfect.
What does this quote bring up for you?
Honestly, this quote like hits really close to home because I understand like nowadays as independent artists, social media is a key component to not only connecting with fans but also sharing your music, but it can be kind of hard when you are kind of expected to do it. And I think too, a lot of the times, for me personally, I really try hard not to, but I find myself comparing myself to maybe other independent artists who are maybe a little farther in their career than I am. And sometimes it's kind of hard to like stay motivated in a way, if that makes sense. I think it's just really, it kind of causes you to just kind of compare yourself to others in a way, which is really hard not to do, especially as an independent artist and really just a human being in general.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I think that I too sometimes experience seeing independent artists post things, and like you said, maybe they are a little further along than I am. And that's really hard when people start posting numbers and big performance opportunities and things, and then you start to wonder like, what am I doing wrong, and am I good enough to be doing this? And I think in general, just like the end of this quote, where it's kind of saying that it kind of paints this false image of reality, and that what you see online isn't necessarily that person's life. It's kind of filtered in a way. And it's for that reason that I am not a fan of Instagram. I'm very rarely on it because I feel like when I scroll through, Instagram captures all the perfect moments in life. And so for me, it's like I'm showing the fun days that I experienced, but also scrolling through, it's like seeing all these other people, not only musicians, but friends and celebrities and things, posting all their great things. And it's easy to get caught up in, oh, wow, they're living a perfect life, when really they are posting what they choose to, and you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Just like for us, we choose to post certain things and keep other things private. And I think that raises the whole thing of no matter if you're an independent artist or major celebrity, your persona online isn't necessarily all of you. So I think that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. You know, I think too, it was actually something years ago when I was like struggling with self esteem and like self confidence, and something I still struggle with today, honestly. But it is hard. I think actually, like my mom told me, she's like, you have to realize that what people are posting online, they're not showing you the full picture. Kind of like you said, people are going to just post really good moments, the key moments that they want people to see.
For sure. But like you said before, too, social media is almost a requirement nowadays because of how the industry is. And so even though it can be a negative place at times, we kind of have to find ways of coping with that and finding ways of managing our social media in ways that are good for our mental health while also being able to leverage it and promote ourselves as artists. So, what are some things that you do, some tips maybe for other artists that you use to use social media in a healthy way?
Yeah, I think what I've learned about social media is to really know when it's starting to affect you, like, creatively. I remember there is this one time where, like, I think I was so obsessed with, like, kind of either the likes or like trying to get more views, all this stuff. And then I realized I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't even, like, sat by my guitar. I haven't even played my guitar in, like, a few days and stuff," and it felt like a piece of me was kinda missing. So I think definitely to kinda know when you need to kinda step away. One thing I do, every day is I do set, like, app limits, on my phone. I think I only allow myself no more than like 30 or like 45 minutes of social media a day. And so it will just kind of like time out once I've already used that. So that's one way to kind of keep me in check with like, okay, like I've been on here enough today. Let me write a song or let me go really experience life and get inspired and kind of just get back into that creative mindset.
I love how you set your phone to, let you know when you've used up that time. That's so cool. I've never done that, but I think that's great because I think it's hard to take breaks. I feel like social media can be so addicting. And I very, very rarely will take major breaks from social media, but very recently over the Labor Day long weekend, I stayed off all weekend, including that Monday. And I had to because I was feeling really down about myself. I am currently, as you know, trying to get an agent to pick up my book. And in August into September, there were a ton of announcements of agents announcing deals and things. And then also seeing like musicians posting big successes. And I'm kind of like in the middle of releases at the moment, so I'm not really doing a whole lot. And then I started to doubt myself as a songwriter and a creative writer. And so I was like, this is so bad for me. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it was at the point where I just kept scrolling and I'm telling myself, to me, you got to get off. But then at the same time, I just couldn't get off until I just shut it off and was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not looking at this anymore. It was hard, but I had to do it. And I think, like you were saying, the creativity, I would try to write a song and it was like I wasn't inspired. Then I tried to do research for a new book and it was like, why am I even researching? Maybe I'm not good enough. And it was just like majorly like shutting me down with my creativity. And literally after taking that break, I feel like I noticed something huge, which is sometimes we think that we need social media for like a pastime or that is something we need to survive when it's literally not. Like I was perfectly fine that weekend without it. And then I realized like taking breaks and even now like I still check it daily after I started looking at it again. But after taking that break, I realized I don't need to doom scroll for hours. Like I don't need to look at Instagram every day if I don't want to. And setting boundaries for yourself with it is really important as well.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. I don't think I've ever done like a break, like a really long break from social media, but like I know like one thing that makes me happy is whenever I don't like hit my limit on social media for the day. It's like at the end of the day, like it kind of just makes me like, oh, cool. Like I wasn't on my phone all day. Like I was able to, and like then I look at all the other things I was able to do. I think like one day I spent time kind of working on producing and writing songs, and I hadn't gone on social media at all. And I was like, yes, awesome. Like I felt really accomplished.
Yeah, no, that completely, 100%. So, something too with social media, and this can tie into like magazines and all of that as well, is the image of what an artist or more generally someone in the entertainment industry should be. So, what are your thoughts on what beauty means in the industry and as well body image?
So I think, especially with like the entertainment industry, I feel like we're heading in the right direction as far as like, with promoting good like body image and just, teaching everybody that all bodies are beautiful. And I love that. But I do feel like, especially when I first started wanting to go after, or like when I first started really wanting to be a singer-songwriter, I remember I would, like, look at myself in the mirror and be like, "Oh, well, like," as, like, a 13-year-old girl, I was like, "Oh, like, I don't really have the body like that one singer that everybody loves," or, I don't like, I have acne on my face and stuff, and, like, for some like, I remember I even, like, kinda thought I was like, "I don't even know if I could actually be, like I don't think I could actually be a singer-songwriter because I don't think that I don't fit what the entertainment industry is saying I need to look like." And that kinda hurt me for a while, but I think now everybody's starting to learn that it's more about the inner beauty than the outer beauty, and we're learning to just, really embrace all everybody, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love your point there at the end that it's what's inside that matters and out because I mean, really, that's like what really matters, I think, because you could have this gorgeous supermodel who could be not a nice person. And just because they have a pretty face, I don't want to talk to you if you're going to be mean to me, you know? And so, like, I think it's really important that what's inside is what matters. And like I didn't struggle a whole lot with my image really, but even though I didn't have major like self-doubts about that side of myself, I still would like even posting pictures like do I look good or I don't want to post a picture without makeup on and like even when I do photo shoots for like album covers and my press stuff, like even then it's a whole thing trying to pick the outfits and, like, is this the best outfit? How do I look in it? And making sure, like, my facial expression looks fine and my hair looks fine. And so I think even down to, like, that side of things, like, with the photo shoots and things, I think that's where I really struggle because I struggle with picking the right outfits and making sure, like, my hair is fine and everything like that. And I think, too, when you get into the photo shoot, you need to look the right way. Like, if you're stressed out, your face isn't gonna be right, and you're gonna see the stress and, like, the discomfort through the picture, and so sometimes it's hard to, like, hide that in order to deliver the way you have to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think like now like I don't feel so uncomfortable doing like pictures, but I think it was definitely something when I was like years ago, And I think too there's always that I think we kind of grew like or at least I grew up in kind of a period where it was like really like you got to be thin. No, you can't look like this. You can't have any imperfections on your face and which in all honesty it's like that's impossible. Like they create these impossible beauty standards that I think have really affected a lot of girls. And, I think I want all girls, honestly, all people just to know that they're beautiful the way they are.
For sure, I agree. And even too, like, because as artists, we have to be so public. It's not like we can I mean, if you're Sia, go and hide your face or whatever. But like most of us like are so public. We play shows and standing on a stage, everybody sees us taking pictures. A lot of our artwork has pictures of us, so everybody knows what we look like, and so I think to put ourselves out there in such a way, we have to have some level of acceptance of what we look like to be able to do that.
For sure. Yeah, no, and it's definitely, learning to kind of be vulnerable. You're just kind of being a little more, um, I guess vulnerable, as artists, like you said, like with releasing pictures, being on social media, all that stuff, um, you kind of have to learn to be a little bit more vulnerable, I think.
No, 100%. I completely agree. Yeah. So, the other side of expectations beyond the social media and the presence and the image is things that we're expected to do as artists. And one of them that ties into your release is how often independent artists are supposed to release music. So, your new single is your first release of this year, and congratulations about that. So in terms of the expectation of like how often independent artists and artists in general are supposed to release music, how are you feeling about that?
I honestly feel really good to be able to release a song just because it's what I love to do, and I love being able to share what I've worked on, what I've written, what I've put my heart and soul into with everybody. But there was definitely a pressure to try to because I was originally wanting to release this back in April, May, but just life kind of happened and I had to push it back. And it was kind of hard for me because I kept going online being like, "Oh, you have to release every so many months and stuff." So I kept like feeling I was on this like almost like a ticking time bomb. And like I felt like, "Oh my gosh, like if I don't release it now, like that's the end of it. That's the end." But in all reality, it's like I think what's so important and what I've realized is that, yes, it's important to like release on a consistent basis, but I think it's really important to be able to make sure that what you're releasing is true to who you are as an artist. And that's what I've really kind of learned to tell myself whenever I feel like I'm not doing enough.
That's perfect. I love what you said at the end about making sure what you're releasing is true to you as an artist, and also the timing needs to be right. Like, I am getting ready to release my EP, but it was supposed to be out in October, and I pushed it to November because I am not in the right space right now to be able to release an EP in October and promote it the way I have to. And so I don't think people really understand, if they're not artists, what all goes into it. And if you don't have management, you're doing everything by yourself. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, it can get to you, and releasing back to back to back to back. I did this earlier this year. I released my Homecoming Queen cover in January, Across the Pond in February, and Four Leaf Clover in March. Am I ever going to release 3 singles back to back like that again? Absolutely not. No way. I can't do it. It was crazy. Like, by the time I was done sending emails out for the one, I was sending emails out for the other one. It was so overwhelming because I was doing everything myself. So, I think that leaving space between releases is good because it gives whatever release that just happened its time. Then you have a break to chill and like recharge everything, do some writing, do some fun creative stuff, maybe record or whatever, and then have time to like mentally prepare for another release and also gather everything you need for it. I think the pressure of releasing so consistently can be hard because not only is it like ramping up the time, money, and energy going into like the recording and getting artwork and paying for the release and stuff, but also it can be really hard on your mental health keeping up with that as well. And so honestly, I think people need to realize that just because an artist doesn't release every 6 weeks or whatever doesn't mean they're not dedicated to their craft, because I think that can be something people jump to. It's like, oh, they're not releasing every couple months. Maybe they don't feel as committed, and I think that's totally a misconception.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree because I know this year for me, especially this, I think, with planning a wedding, with doing so many gigs, and there were just things that happened with life that just kind of postponed me releasing music. But I think it was also, like I said, it's just good to kind of reflect and really like almost like recharge your creativity. Um, and I've I think we're just so hard on ourselves as it is as independent artists, just because I think we love it so much and we want to be successful. And so I think, for me, like I know I was going online and like hearing what other people were saying, like, oh, if you're not doing this or if you're not doing that. And so, I think it sometimes that just can kind of affect you and really kind of wear you down and really get you down. But I think, you just got to focus on knowing what you're capable of doing and also making sure you're doing it in the way that's right for you and then the way that's best for you.
Yeah, and it's about putting your best foot forward too. Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to just release just to release, Like, you want to make sure everything you're putting out is your best work because that's what everyone is getting to view you by. And so I think that's really important to not really let the expectations drive your career, but let your heart kind of drive it for you and not worry about what other people say. So, as artists, we have to do many things, and I thought I would ask you and have us both share what is one thing about being an artist that you're not a huge fan of, but you feel you have to do because of expectations?
Hmm. It's a hard one. I feel like I know this has been on kind of like what we've been talking about, but I do feel like social media for I feel like it would be social media for me. Not like it's not like I don't enjoy it, I've met some amazing people through social media and stuff. But I think definitely just the expectations to, either post every day or to like, just kind of be consistent when sometimes maybe like mentally you just need a break, but then you feel like you can't take that break because it affects all this other stuff. So I think for me it probably would have to be social media.
No, totally valid. Totally valid. So mine is a weird one, and it's gonna sound very weird. I've said this on the podcast before, so it's not a huge surprise to people who've heard it. But I don't really like playing live.
Really?
No, I love writing and I love recording, but I don't really like playing live. And I think because I grew up as a classically trained pianist, I've done a lot of like recitals and things, and so I think some of it stems from that because the pressure of playing classical pieces in a concert hall to studying music in school and having to do concerts in front of like the faculty and the students and juries, which are basically finals for music students. Like there was a lot of pressure on performance, like with the classical side. And so I think that kind of transitioned me into like not being a huge fan of performance. I loved playing piano, like I loved recitals, but there was that pressure and that performance anxiety that developed over the years. And so I think because of the pressure I had as a classical musician, I think now performance isn't really my favorite thing in the world, but I do it because I feel like I'm an artist, so it'd be weird if I didn't do it, but I would much rather like to sit in my room and write a song instead of sing on a stage.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say that's valid though. Well, especially too with, I mean, like a lot of people, they'll just do, we've had like a lot of like, singers who got their start on like doing YouTube and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a valid reason, I would say, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think too, it's like I was graded and judged on my music when I was in
Oh,
school. And so I think another thing is like even though no one in the audience is judging me, I hope, I still have that mentality that I'm, like, getting graded in a way, which is kinda weird because I'm not, but I feel like I have that mindset because of what I had to go through as a music student.
oh yeah. I mean, that's valid. I probably would be in the same boat as you if I had if I had that same.
Hmm. So, we had a fabulous conversation, but before we wrap things up, I want to give you some time to talk about your new single. So, can you share with the listeners what it's called and what inspired this one?
Of course. So my latest single is called I'll Be Okay. And it was actually a song that I wrote back in 2018 about. And it was kind of a reflection of I went through a pretty hard year, my senior year of high school. And I really just kind of felt like giving up. I didn't think anything would get better. And it was actually thanks to my mom. She just was the person who just sat with me while I cried in the car all the time. And just, she saw how hurt I was, but she just listened to me and she just, really inspired me to keep moving forward. And she actually just always would tell me, she's like, honey, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. And now I'm here doing what I love, and, I think too I just wanted to release it because I felt like, uh, it was a good time in my life to release it, and I just kinda hope that if anyone else is struggling out there, that they can, find hope by listening to this song.
It's a beautiful song, such a beautiful message as well. And I think something so cool about this is that it's a song from years ago. And I think a lot of times, like songwriters, me included, I feel like all my music I release has to be current. But this is a great example of how a song that you write years ago can have meaning then, but something will make it become special again, and then the right time to release it comes around. And I think you doing this will inspire other people, including me, to do that more often because I'm doing a similar thing that I never thought I would do for my EP coming out in November. There's a song on it I wrote in 2019, and all the other songs are very current ones that I wrote this year. And at first I was like, I can't put that on there, but it fit the project and it's one of my favorite songs I've written. And so I had to get out of the headspace of just because this is 3 years old doesn't mean it's not any less. And so I think you choosing to release this single is making a major statement that not all the songs you release have to be current and you can bring up those special gems from the past to release whenever.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I love that.
Yeah. So, Madison, it was lovely having you on. Before we go, can you share with the listeners any final thoughts you have about expectations in the music industry?
I think if I were to say one thing, I think just for all the indie artists, just know that your voice, your work means something. And so don't let what you think you should be doing stop you because I think in the end you just need to really do what's best for yourself, but also what's best for your art.
Perfect. Madison, thank you so much again for joining me. Where can everyone find you on social media and listen to your music?
You can listen to my music on all streaming platforms under Madison Gregory and Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And you can find me at Madison Gregory on Insta, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again for joining me. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed another amazing episode with Madison. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay right
right on
on
track.
track.